Now the volunteer that's in charge of this section of that trail that goes through this whole area was asking me about this one day, and it got me thinking. You know, the guy who used to ranch here used to cut oak for fence posts, and this box is what he used to treat the fence posts, so he'd stand them solid, you know, in there, up on end. And it got me wondering what he was using. I thought it was some kind of creosote, but it was a possibility that was pine tar, because he was an old Norwegian. His grandfather came over from Norway, so it was possible. But I came over here just to take a look at it, and you can actually see that the ground has got a layer of tar, but it's tar. You know, there's still a lot of it in the bottom of the tank. And this hasn't been used for years. But it is like a creosote. You know, it isn't pine tar. You can smell it's, you know, the oil, just like a creosote tar. But he's one of the last ones who did that. You know, he used to cut fence posts all the time. Well, I've been involved in that sort of thing too. And then split it up and stack them in there on end, and then fill that tank with hot creosote. You know, and because I thought it was a possibility that he would use pine tar, but, you know, that's something that's pretty expensive to be doing on that scale. And the creosote would do the job, and I think that was relatively cheap. You know, because someplace around here there's a bunch of old cans, and I think I'm going to scout them out and see if I can't find them. But you can see here's right a stack of what was going to be fence posts, and he never got around to treating them. And they just rotted away. That's probably good wood for smoking, though. Maybe I have to come and get some of that good old rotten oak. You know, that would be good stuff for smoking. But I can remember as a kid seeing him do that, where he'd stack that plump full and then heat that creosote up and pour it in there. You know, I've known people to do it with like old crankcase oil too. But, you know, that isn't going to last as long. Though he probably mixed crankcase oil in there, it wouldn't surprise me. But I know he heated it up, you know, and then poured it in there. But I won't have to see it, because the guy that runs the trail asked me if anybody lived back here. And no, nobody has ever lived back here. But he said there's a kind of a dump, and I think that's over the hill here where they were just throwing the old cans and stuff. You know, because you find old dumps scattered all over around here, you know, where people just, and sometimes very interesting to look, see what's in them. But I'm going to wander over that hill and see if I can't find that dump he was talking about. Well, I found it right where I figured it was. I kind of remember something being here. But it's the typical junk that gets dumped off a farm. Old tires, old fuel cans, old rusted out water jugs, an implement seat that somebody replaced, which I can see the reason for. That must have been a real ass-pinching machine before he broke. Down another one. But nothing of too great a value, but I'll maybe dig through here a little. Now, license plate from 1947. Well, I got my 47 Chevy to put that baby right on there. But it'll probably get stopped. A lot of enamel wear. Stuff they chipped up and parts of an old windmill. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything, but you know, some of these can be interesting. You can kind of tell the life of somebody. The antifreeze, when it used to come in a gallon. A few assorted jugs. Oh yeah, I haven't seen one of these for a while. The old Schmidt Big Mouth. National Distilleries. Yeah, I like this half-gallon jug is a little unusual. And the gallon brown, they're not busted up at all. I'll maybe take them, though I don't have any great need for them. A lot of assorted bottles in here. Well, that blue one must be filled with milk of magnesia in another big mouth bottle. And some kind of chunk of cast iron that I don't recognize. Probably a very important part for something. It doesn't appear to be broke. Well, there's another piece of cast iron. Oh, I see. It's a stove. And that's the body for the stove. That's the top part. The hell. I'll have to dig through here. It all appears to be here. Maybe get a good little stove out of that. That must have been what he was using before he went to that oil burner, which gave out on him because there ain't much left of that. Well, that's always interesting. That's some kind of a stove too. But I'll have to see if I can't do something with that oil burner. Or that little wood burner. But I think that license plate and a couple of them jugs can go home with me. But that stove, that's got me intrigued. That's a nice little stove. And odds are, the parts are all there. So I'll have to do some excavating. Well, most of the stove appears to be here. I've got to find the front door that's got to drop down here. This must be the draft control. Then that barrel, just two bolts hold it together, and it really doesn't look like there's any feet. It looks like it sits on the floor. There's holes here that I think are just vents so it doesn't overheat. But, you know, the fire's way up here, and then the ash pan would be in here. But it's missing. There's one little flipper that goes in here that I really can't quite understand what that whole mechanism is there. You know, why they have this baffle arrangement, and it's got the top trim piece that's a little ragged. But even without that on there. But it is Montgomery Ward's. It says refuel every 12 hours. Use chestnut-sized fuel. Oh my God, she's got the serial number plate on her. Maybe I can get parts. But the grate here looks to be in good shape. That's usually what's going on them. So I think she could be recovered. But I'm going to come back and dig around in that area a little more. But I want to bring a hole because I keep running into broken pieces of glass. But I think I could get something out of there. Yeah, that might be worth owning. Especially I know the history of it. I mean, I'm sure this has been around a long time. But, you know, like I said, it doesn't look to be in bad shape. Any little problems can be repaired. So give her a try.